I want to share with you some common statements that I hear pretty often that create stress and frustration in people's lives, and including mine. I've had to deal with these myself. And the first one is, it's not happening for me. I won't ever get where I want to be. It's too late. I've not made good decisions. I'm stuck. Sound familiar? Or maybe, how about this one? He or she didn't answer my email, my call, or my text, and so they must be ignoring me. Or how about this one? He or she didn't say hey to me or wave at me, and so he or she must not like me. Here's another one for you. Everybody else has somebody that they love and enjoy, and I'm miserable. I'm all alone. I'm divorced and I have children, or I'm miserable in my marriage. No one's ever going to want me. I'm damaged goods. There's no hope. Here's one more. There's just never enough money to pay all the bills. Why didn't I start saving sooner? I'm never going to get out of debt. I'll never have the financial freedom that I want so badly. Do you relate? All of these are powerful statements that reinforce the negative, and they create a feeling of despair. And we spend a ton of time and energy reacting to them as if they're true, and that they always will be true in our lives. And we create our own misery in the process. And then we just perpetuate the misery the longer we hold on to them and keep telling ourselves that. So let's go back to one of them. He or she is ignoring me. They looked right at me and they didn't speak. They must not like me, and no one likes me. And on we go with the negative, and we end up in this negative spiral very quickly. And then we start saying all kinds of other things that don't even have anything to do with that event. And many times the thoughts that we think and the things that we believe about what just happened, the judgments that we make about that, aren't even true. But we don't stop to think about what we're thinking. We just react, and we let our thoughts run our minds instead of being intentional and choosy about what we're thinking. I call it the washing machine of our minds. It just runs that same old dirty laundry over and over and over in the same cycle. And we stay stuck there. And then we move into our frustration, our stress, and our sadness. And our thoughts create our emotions. And we feel these things over the thoughts instead of stopping to ask ourselves if what we're perceiving or believing about the situation is really fact. And do we have proof that that's the truth? For instance, maybe he or she isn't ignoring or rejecting you at all. Maybe he or she didn't see you and had something else on their mind. Maybe they're having a bad day and they were so lost in thought that they were thinking about something in their own life that they're struggling with. Maybe the breakthrough that you want is about to happen for you. Maybe you're on the way to where you want to be, or even somewhere better, and it just hasn't happened yet. Possibly the decisions you made that you think ruined your life are the very ones that taught you what you needed to learn to prepare you for where you're headed, and you just can't see it yet. Maybe the truth is that a lot of people who look like they're so happily married are actually miserable and extremely lonely in their marriage, and you would never know it. And you see the highlight reel of everybody else's life. And maybe there's that perfect man or that perfect woman for you who's also single or divorced and who has baggage, because we all do, who will embrace and love you for exactly who you are and will do the same for your children. But they just haven't arrived yet in your life. I could go on and on and on with each example, but my point is this, and I think hopefully you're catching on. Our thoughts are the cause of our suffering, period. We feel frustration, we feel stress, and we feel emotional pain because we create a story about what is, what was, or what will be. And then we suffer. And we continue to suffer over it as long as we think those same thoughts and allow that to continue to be our story. We spend so much of our time and our energy inflicting unnecessary suffering on ourselves, and our thoughts get so convoluted that we lose the ability to decipher what's reality and what's not. So let me set you free from this cycle, from this washing machine of your mind, let me set you free with this truth. You don't have to believe everything your thoughts tell you. Notice which thoughts you're thinking that are robbing you of hope and peace and happiness and even joy. We waste hours worrying about what we may think may happen or not happen, and we miss being present in the life right in front of us, right in this moment. When we can recognize and when we can choose to let go of the thoughts that are creating our suffering and our misery, we open up to all that life has to offer us, and we can feel hope for the blessings that God is bringing us, or maybe that are coming into our lives right now as we speak. So what are those thoughts that you're holding on to that are keeping you stuck in your suffering and your misery? What's creating that same old stuck cycle for you? And how might it feel if you were to loosen your grasp on those thoughts? Start noticing how much you create a story about what is or isn't in your life, and you don't even realize you're doing it. And examine how your unquestioned thoughts are creating negative experiences and feelings for you. And then know this: anytime that you feel stressed, anytime you feel frustrated, fearful, hopeless, desperate, any of those things, it is most often a result of believing an untrue thought. Or you're making a judgment on a situation and coming up with a story that's just not true. Create that new awareness of your thoughts. Ask if they're absolutely true and factual. Do you have evidence to prove that this is the case and will always be the case? Really? Examine how you feel, how you act, and how your life is when that thought has power over you. What feelings are you holding on to that thought are creating and reinforcing? And then notice how you respond or you react to that thought and how that shapes your reality in the present and how it shapes your reality in the future. Because our beliefs create our reality. And so if we want something different, we've got to think something different. Then ask yourself how life would be different if you don't believe that thought, if you no longer allow that thought to exist and you choose a different one. Look at the situation differently without holding on to that thought. Just allow yourself to be in that space for a minute without replacing the thought with even a better thought. Just be in the space and be present. And notice what opens up for you when you do that. Notice the freedom that you feel when you don't have that albatross of that same old negative, dirty laundry, negative scripts around your neck. Then free yourself even more. See your situation without the negative or painful thought and replace it with a more positive, hopeful, life-giving thought. Seriously, what do we have to lose by believing for something positive? The worst thing that's going to happen is that we're going to be disappointed if it doesn't happen. But we're already disappointed because of our own thoughts. And we're already creating our suffering and believing the worst, so it's not going to get any worse by believing a more positive thought. And the journey is much more hopeful, it's much more peaceful, and it's much more joyful when we do. And again, our thoughts create our reality. So choose wisely. Start creating what you really want by thinking more about what you want than what you don't want. It's a powerful truth. It's changed my life. And I promise you, you won't regret it if you try it too. And you will suffer much less and enjoy the more that's available to you. The much, much more that's available. and it's waiting on you to embrace it and do something different. It's time today to end your suffering. Change those scripts. Take back your life and start to enjoy it. It's your one wild and precious life. It's time to own it.